guess we should get this going so John can get up at 6 a.m. with the kids.
Whatever. I actually enjoy the 3-hour podcasts, even though that also means that my head hurts the next day.
We are getting so much shit from our significant others for that. Like, Rachel's up my ass about tightening it up. Katie's up at your ass, then my ass.
Well, Katie was saying today that nobody listens to it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, that first of all, way to state the obvious. Good for her.
Yeah. Second of all,
it's interesting that it's a complaint from the people who supposedly don't listen to it.
Yeah, I'm unemployed. I'll talk as long as I want. Damn it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Also, like, I love these people that are like, well, you don't have as many people as Chapo's Trap House. Like, yeah, a lot of those podcasts were started 6 years ago. We've literally been doing this since February. Maybe April.
If we worked on this full time, we would have it nice and polished.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's not gonna fucking happen. So.
Nope.
Well, if you can figure something out with these sponsors.
Oh. What we need to do is we need to get 1,000 people to give us $5 a month for some fucking reason. Because there's so many
Kickstarter.
There's so many just complete jackasses on YouTube that are like, I have started a Patreon and I would like you all to subscribe to my Patreon. I'm like, oh god, die. Just die.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get 1 million people on Facebook to give us like $5.
Hey, they donated what, $18 million to a wall that's never gonna fucking get built. Why not give us $10 million? All right, well, let's officially start this. Let's kick this pig. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Justin Woods, and welcome to the Woodscast. With me, as usual, is the other Woods in the Woodscast. Shay, what's going on?
Not much. As I said before we started recording, I'm gainfully unemployed and am totally taking this time to expand myself and become a better person.
Nice.
No.
This is an audio medium, Shay. They can't see you shaking your head.
That's fine.
Yeah. Although at some point, some people keep telling us to record video, and I'm like, I don't think we need to fucking do that.
Nah.
Yeah. All right, and we were gonna have Gatlin and John on because this is gonna be the last pod of the year of the 2018. But Gatlin just punked out on us. But we got John here. What's going on, John?
Hey, I'm living my best dad life.
Yep, he's just dadding it up there in the bluegrass.
Hashtag dad bod, dude. Just embrace it.
That's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Is the dad bod. Yeah.
And I love dad jokes. So.
All right, like I said, this is going to be the last podcast of the year. We are recording this on today's Sunday, right, guys? I'm not stupid. Yeah, Sunday.
Yes, you are, and yes, it is.
It's between Christmas and New Year's. I don't know what day it is.
It's a gray scale of days, but it's we're Sunday the 30th, December 30th. Today on the pod, we're gonna talk about some fun stuff. We've got Bush. I don't know. I guess that's a Freudian slip. Trump finally visits the troops after 706 days, and we'll wrap it up by just detailing what the fuck's going on with the Drumpf shutdown. We're in the 8th day of that, and then we'll end it up with like we always do with This Week in Woo Fuckery, which I've got a pretty good one, I think. But this is the numbers for today. As I said, Sunday, December 30th. I keep on saying 12th. That's wrong. We are in the 710th day of the Trump administration. Donald Trump has taken away North Korea's nukes for 202 days now. We are in the 8th day of the Trump shutdown. We are 4 days away from the inauguration of the 116th Congress. And Donald Trump has... Now, this is last Monday, so Christmas Eve, Donald Trump had a 39% approval rating with Gallup. And he had a 41.4% approval rating with 538 as of today. That Gallup number is never going to go below 35. It's never going to go above 45. That's his base. That's what they fucking care about. It's never going to get any better than that. Fun stuff. We've had a lot. There are a bunch of movies out, and I've had, like you guys, I've been off for a while. I have fucking a lot of free time, so I saw almost all of them. I saw all of them pretty much. Bird Box.
I'm seeing Bumblebee tomorrow.
Bumblebee is solid. So right now, the last 2 weeks in the box office have not changed. Last week was Aquaman, Mary Poppins Returns, and then Bumblebee. and then fourth was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Am I saying that wrong, Shay? I keep.
I think that's right. Yep.
That sounds right.
So good.
It is. It's really good. It's really good. I've seen. I don't know what I'm looking it up right now. I didn't take the fourth one, but Spider-Man. Spider-Man's Rotten Tomatoes score. I'll look that up right now. But what we've got for Aquaman's at 64% Rotten Tomatoes. Mary Poppins at 78%. And then Bumblebee was a really big surprise. It came in at 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. I have seen Aquaman, Bumblebee, and the Spider-Man movie, and they are all just wicked solid movies. They're fun.
I'm gonna wait for that. I'm gonna wait till I can share Aquaman from the internet because I don't want to pay for it. But I might get bored and go see it in theaters. But I mean, I've seen every DC movie up until now, so I've got a pretty good idea what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's
I'm probably not seeing a movie in theaters till maybe Toy Story 4, Lion King.
Now here's the thing, though. That's assuming if you're a responsible parent. You could just bring like an 8-month-old to a movie and just let it scream the whole time, the last time I went to a movie. How old's your kid now?
I have one that's about to turn 3, and he's
that's
he's obsessed with the old Lion King right now.
Yeah.
So, and he also is a big Toy Story fan, which I'm more on the Toy Story wagon myself. So apparently those two movies are coming out the same weekend, I believe.
Oh, damn.
So that might be his first go to.
That's 2019, right? Sometime this year.
Yeah, I think it's April, so it's still a ways away. But the other one's about to be 3 months, so we could really piss a lot of people off with him.
I mean, I saw people with, I would say, 4-year-olds at Deadpool 2, and. And I saw young kids at Deadpool 1. I went with our buddy Ben, and we were looking at each other, and Ben and I are not neither of us have kids. We're not necessarily kid friendly as far as our language goes. After we've had a couple beers, and we were just looking around what the fuck are these kids doing here? And I remember at Deadpool 2, the dad that brought his he had a trove of little kids. And he was walking out just muttering that he couldn't believe it was that graphic, and I was like, "What in the shit did you?" That was R, right, Shay? Am I?
Yeah. Oh, Deadpool 2 is R. For Deadpool 1, I understand because they intentionally made false advertising for Deadpool 1 to trick people into seeing it. I don't know if you remember, they made a cut for it because it came out on Valentine's Day that made it look like a romantic comedy.
Yes,
and it was incredible. And you would have had no idea what it was about based on just that trailer. There's not really an excuse for the second one. If you're going to go see a movie, I don't even have kids, and I Google movies before I see them, so I don't know. That's just funny.
It's like taking it would be like John if you took Jack to Overlord.
Yeah,
we haven't even taken him to a kid movie yet, let alone anything like that.
Well,
I did watch Toy Story 3 at Movie Tavern and drank my face off.
I've not seen that, but I heard it's sad.
I still haven't seen it. I still have to nut up and basically.
It's a tearjerker.
Yeah, I guess there's gonna be Toy Story 4, so I'm gonna have to see Toy Story 3.
Right.
The other movie that I saw that it kind of was not on my radar at all, but is this movie M. Night Shyamalan. His M. Night Shyamalan is
yeah. Are you talking about Glass?
Yeah. So. I have always been kind of a closet fan of M. Night Shyamalan because I always like his movies. I always try to go see him before the big twist is ruined. And yes, that's the only fucking tool he has in his toolbox is the wicked twist at the end. But I saw Unbreakable, and I thought that was just a solid movie from start to finish. Had a lot of great people in it. I saw Split. I didn't see Split until way after it was released because I thought it was just a schizophrenic, serial killer movie, and I had no clue that it was it was a sequel to Unbreakable. And when I found that out, I was like, "Well, that sounds pretty neat." So I saw that. That was pretty fucking solid. So I'm looking forward to this Glass movie. I didn't know.
I've not seen either Unbreakable or Split.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you've got time, that's a good afternoon.
Yeah, I know the premise, and I know what's there's no twist. I get what's going on. I've just not sat down and watched them, so I don't know.
So it looks fun. Did you guys see Bird Box before Facebook shat all over it?
No,
No.
but my understanding is it's similar to A Quiet Place, except you can't look at the aliens or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched it yet, but it looks good, and for whatever reason, I like Sandra Bullock a lot, so I'll probably check it out.
I saw it on Netflix the other day, and I was like, "Ooh, that's new. Looks interesting." And then like the next day, I saw people starting to shit like crazy all over the Facespaces.
Yeah, I don't get that. Like, I really, like, there are so many shitty movies that are fun. Like, we've talked about it. Like, Venom was not a good movie, Shay, but it was enjoyable. It was fun.
No. Yeah.
There's, like,
well, and
the first
the other thing,
Tremors-
too, is Netflix movies are a whole different monster, too. I just want to throw that out there. Like,
Oh, yeah.
if I
They're
don't
all
have
over
to
the
put
place.
pants on or even clothes, period, or even get out of bed, if I can roll over and play a movie, I'm a lot more forgiving in terms of pretty much every criteria you would judge a movie by.
I'm
But
more
anyway,
likely
continue.
to watch the movie the fact that it's a Netflix movie at this point, because it's already there.
Yeah.
easily
People did the
available.
same shit with Bright. A lot of people crapped all over that, and that movie's fun as hell.
Yeah.
And
great.
At some
great
point, you're gonna watch it just because everybody
Yeah.
else has.
Well, I think the reason it got so much shit is because Shay's right. Like, the premise is like there's something that happens. I want to say it happens in the Eastern Bloc, old Soviet Republic states or something. Something happened, and there's just mass suicides. And so instead of, if you make a noise like in Quiet Place, which if you guys are listening to this and you haven't seen Quiet Place, punch yourself right in the junk, then go watch Quiet Place. Really good movie. But in this case, instead of if you make a noise, the alien will track you down and kill you. Excuse me. Damn.
The Belch Cast.
Yeah, I know. Wow, God. Just been pounding beers over here. Whatever it is. I never say it's an alien, ghost, whatever. It could be it could be the sequel to that fucking shitty 2000 Final Fantasy movie, The Spirit Within, or whatever it is. But like if you see this apparition or whatever it is, like, it makes you hallucinate and then kill yourself. Like, you see something that just drives you to commit suicide. So everybody's just trying to go through life without, with blindfolded and not seeing everything. So it's a really, I thought it was really good. At one point she's on the river blindfolded with two little kids, and I'm like, Rachel, I'm an Eagle Scout. This is dangerous. This is not safe. This is not how you do this. But yeah, like everybody shat all over it on the Facespaces and the Mybooks because I don't know why, because they didn't get enough war on Christmas. Fuck, I don't know. But I think it's the same reason like Aquaman went from like 93% Rotten Tomatoes to 64%, because all of the edgelord movie reviewers who weren't familiar with the comic material were like, oh, this is just about a guy who talks to fish. This is so stupid. And like everybody who's ever read any Justice League at all is like, yeah, Aquaman's not like my favorite character, but if he's gonna smash some shit, I'm game.
What was this isn't really related, but have you I exposed myself to more Christmas movies than is probably helpful or feasible this year, because I was out of town up in the mountains doing my Christmas thing, and I watched Home Alone 1. My friend had never seen Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2.
What?
So we made her watch them. Well,
is she allowed to vote?
No, she was not alive when the first movie was made in the theaters. So she was born in '92, just after the second movie had come out. So it was really funny watching Home Alone 1 and 2 with somebody who didn't have the experience of like seeing it in theaters and being all into it, because it's just such a crazy movie. And then we also watched the first two Santa Claus movies. This brings up two important points about Christmas movies I've never noticed. A lot of them, if you think about them, get really dark. Like Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2, I'm clearly convinced Kevin McAllister's a sociopath, because he knows he should call the police, but he always waits until he hurts them a bunch to do it. He enjoys hurting them, and he's obsessed with his mom. So there's something wrong with that kid. And then the other thing I was wondering is, because the premise of the Santa Claus 1 is you kill Santa, you become Santa Claus, and then in Santa Claus 2, you find out they have to have a wife. So that means the Santa Claus he killed had a wife. So when Tim Allen killed that Santa Claus and became Santa Claus, there was no Mrs. Claus at the North Pole. So what the fuck did those elves do to Mrs. Claus? Like, do you just off Mrs. Claus as soon as the old Santa dies because she's not needed any? Like,
wait a minute. First of all, I think you're leaning too far into this killing Santa Claus. Like, because Tim Allen in the movie Santa Claus did not kill Santa. Like, he didn't.
He
like,
startles him and he falls off the roof.
Right.
And he puts on the suit.
It was an accident. It's not like he was some MAGA chode that had like a "Don't Tread on Me" sign, flag over top of his chimney, and was like, as soon as this motherfucker comes in my house, I'm blowing him away.
First of all,
this is stand your ground
you just
state.
described the plot to a movie I need to see.
yeah. Well,
I will suggest that I watched The Christmas Chronicles, which is a new one, with Kurt Russell playing Santa Claus. And at one point, he drives a Dodge Charger.
Yes.
Just do that there. It was pretty good.
Put that on my list.
Yeah.
I've seen stills of that movie, and I was taken aback by how goddamn gorgeous Kurt Russell looked in that big snowy white beard.
Oh yeah, dude,
it's a pretty
dreamy.
good Christmas movie. If you take it for what it is, for being a new one, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Krampus?
Fuck yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. It's a shame it wasn't rated R, so they could have gotten weird with it. But all the practical effects were fucking incredible.
Are you kidding me? It was weird enough. Like they had the Jack in the Box that ate kids like a big centipede, and then you saw the kids like slowly get dissolved, digested down the I don't know, what do you call that? The chute of the Jack in the Box guy. I watched it, and Rachel came downstairs, and I was like 6 rum and cokes into it, and she's like, "What are you watching?" It's like the best movie ever.
So great.
Yeah. Speaking of Christmas movies, have you guys paid attention to, and there hasn't been an article this year, but there was one last year, I think Slate did an article, of just the wall-to-wall, I mean, we could call it a MAGA Christmas now, but, like, they started this shit before Trump, like, ran for president, but, the Hallmark Channel, just, like, every year they release 20 to 26 like new Christmas movies that are all like it's the same thing. It's like
the same formula.
Right. Like white couple, like the white lady has to leave her but it's all the same thing.
She's a busy lady from the city and she goes home to her hometown for some plain guy. And I don't know, they learn the meaning of Christmas. I don't know.
Here you go. This is an article that flew across my radar this year that I was oh, this isn't the right one. I wish I'd have brought this one up. But yeah, it's just this wall of Americana that's just so weird, and it's so heteronormative, and like even any type of like minorities in it are like they're cheering on the white people, and there was a list of there's a list of rules. I'm not seeing the right article. But like one of them was like, she has to be a busy, successful city woman who leaves her busy job to go back home and realize that all she needs is a man. Like that's the thing. Like that's the whole premise. And they just face fuck you with that whole,
And the people that watch them, I think they understand how ridiculous they are, but they watch them anyway. And I don't know. It's just.
Well, I mean, if you really do buy into, like, I'm not particularly religious. Shay's not particularly religious. John, I'm not going to speak for you. I don't think you're particularly religious either, but,
Not exactly.
Right, but, like, if you're really into Christmas and you really, believe it's a celebration of the baby Jesus and all this stuff, like, and you feel that the fact that we let too many people, like, that are dudes marry dudes, like, if that's a thing, that you really worry about, then those movies do just it's like 1,000 Christmases rubbing up against your junk. But like for the rest of us that aren't, like if you don't buy into that kind of socio-economic like fucking ironclad mold that these people want to live, want America to live in, then it just sucks.
Well, I'm not really looking for the best cinematic experience when I'm not looking toward Hallmark for that anyway. So. Right. They've got a bar set pretty low there. I mean, this is a greeting card company, so yeah, I can't imagine they're that great.
They just churn the fuck out. It's hilarious. Damn it! I don't want to spend all this time fucking looking at the article. But yeah, there's a rule out there. I'll find it. We'll talk about it next time. Okay. So Trump, the other thing I want to talk about, and it got a lot of play this week, and it was really funny because it got a lot of play this week, and that's because Trump went on a trip to visit the troops for the first time in 2 years of his presidency. And the reason this struck me as funnier than shit is because everybody was doing somersaults and cartwheels to praise the president for doing the bare minimal thing that every president has ever fucking done.
Yeah, but do you know how he ended up screwing it up?
Oh, there are several ways he screwed it up, and it's actually hilarious that he screwed it up. But like a lot of people were talking, John and Shay. I don't know if you were following this too much. Like I was kind of paying attention to the news when what's going on, and there was a series of articles that came out. So just for everybody who's paying attention at home, they might not know the little factoids here. Donald Trump and Melania Trump went to visit troops in Iraq, and then they stopped at a base in Germany on the way back to the United States. But they left at 12:06 the day after Christmas. So they spent Christmas in the White House, and then they hauled ass out to Iraq, and then visited with troops and everything. And they kept this hush hush, this trip hush hush. And it's almost always trips like this are hush hush because you don't want to project that the president is going to be. President of the United States is going to be one of the most dangerous parts of the entire planet at any one given date or time, because then shit could go south that real quick. So they did this quick secret trip. He landed. He spoke with people. Like John said, he fucked up some really really easy low hanging shit, and then flew back. But like so that was Christmas night, day after Christmas, early morning, whatever you want to call it. But then, like, the 2 or 3 days leading up to it, there were all these stories that said that Donald Trump was going to be the first president in 12 years or so, 16, 12 years, to not visit the troops on Christmas. And when the story came out on the 26th that he had gone and visited the troops, everybody's like, see, y'all think that, and then people kept defending him. They're like, these trips take weeks to, 2 or 3 weeks to plan. You think that the Washington Post article 2 days before Christmas made him get on the plane and go? That's not how this works, you stupid libtards. And yes, that's true. They didn't just do that like the day before Christmas. They didn't read an article the day before Christmas and go, well, fuck, we got to go to Iraq the day after Christmas. But I believe it was 2 or 3 weeks ago that everybody was...
I don't know.
There were a bunch of stories that went around that said he was afraid to go.
If there's anybody, I feel like there's anybody who's going to fly across to the other side of the world on a whim, it's going to be the President of the United States.
I would believe either one. Either one's fine. Like, so...
Generally, he's right.
Yeah, I mean, considering the fact that we're pulling out of Syria, just like that, it would no real plan or anything to it. I wouldn't be surprised if he was just like, fuck it. I mean, if there's anybody that can do that, it's him, and he can go. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they started planning this trip weeks ago when people started bringing it up.
Yeah,
right.
Like,
I could see it anyway.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. If there's anybody who can do that, it's him.
Well, and can you imagine, like, John, if you're correct, let's just say that you're right. Like, on, 6 p.m. Christmas Day, he's like, you know what, guys, we're going to Iraq tomorrow. Can you imagine, like, the staff in the White House just being
God damn it.
Yeah, like, oh, damn it.
Well, imagine how many times a day that's said in the White House already.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's very true. But yeah, a couple of weeks ago. Now I haven't looked this up. I needed to nail this down, and it was on my to-do list, but I just didn't. But yeah, it was about 2 weeks ago at the this window of planning that Dan Bongino and all the other low-level C&D stars of Fox News that are basically just trolling for new shows now. They keep talking about this window of like, oh, it takes this long to plan it. Like, yeah, and about that long ago, several news outlets were basically calling the president a pussy. So. That makes sense too.
I mean, I remember a while back reading something about he was afraid to go overseas in the Middle East because he was just afraid in general. So, I guess he got over that.
Well, I think a lot. I personally think enough people said you got to fucking go.
Dude, yeah.
Well, okay, so here are the numbers here. He made this visit on his 706th day in the White House. Barack Obama, who we can all agree, right, is the shittiest president who's ever presidented, right? He did it his 77th day in office, so Trump took literally 10 times longer than Barack Obama did to visit the troops. And what John was talking about, there were a few muff-ups in this trip. The first muff-up is, I don't want to say that there's a big security, I don't want to say there's like, Donald Trump just, could be, prosecuted for treason for this, but he did give out the location of SEAL Team 5 on Twitter, which is a no-no.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah,
it's really never been done before, but I guess he's the president; he can do that.
Which talk show host?
What's up? I lost Shay here.
Yeah, he froze in the most weird face ever.
This guy
All right.
dropped.
Okay,
All
what
right.
were you saying, Shay?
And
What talk
back-
show host?
Wait, well, yeah, it was back in the day. Somebody did that. I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was Geraldo or somebody.
Geraldo Rivera, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, he like drew in the sand, and they were like, "Yeah, we're here, and this is here," and everybody's like, "Fuck, what are you doing?"
But like he actually had photos of him too, so like he was showing the identity of some of the members of the team, which is
Right. So, and
definitely
that was the
no-no.
thing is he had shared videos of the members of SEAL Team 5, and so one of the things you don't do is share their personal, what they look like and things like that, because then they become targets for other countries. Like, this wasn't the biggest security leak in the world, but this is just another reason to say that, like, there aren't adults in the room in this administration. Like, in previous administrations, people were like, whoa. Like, I'm not going to say this same thing happened, but Barack Obama met with special forces officers and special forces assets several times, but this kind of thing was always done in private. People were like, all right, you want to high five SEAL Team 6? Awesome, great, do it in this room over here. Don't take any pictures.
I was reading, and this gets into a lot of other things, but I was reading an article a little earlier about how, I guess, John Kelly said that he should be commended or thought of the things that didn't happen while he was chief of staff. So since he was the adult in the room, imagine what it would be like if he wasn't there. Thinks what's going to happen in I don't know, a week from now.
But see, like, that's my problem with most of this administration, is just that while they're either getting the boot on the way out, or when they have decided to leave, they're like, hey guys, yeah, I know I'm not like Winston Churchill or anything, but just imagine the shit that would have gone down if I wasn't here. Hey, come on now.
And I think he's kind of right to a certain degree.
Oh no, I'm convinced he's 100% right. Yeah.
And I think he could rein in Trump better than Mulvaney will.
Oh God.
If Mulvaney's going to be there long term, I don't know. It's kind of like if somebody's just going to be in a position, is he really the interim?
Well, Mulvaney has made a very, very specific point of saying that he is the acting chief of staff.
Right.
He wants to be on record everywhere saying that he is not appointed. He did not accept the position of chief of staff. He is basically
he's just going to do it for the next 2 years.
He's going to keep that. Well, basically, that's what's going to happen, because who the fuck's going to take that job?
He's already on, like, he's doing that, and he's budget director. He's also been like the director of what the CPPB or whatever it is. He's like worn like 4 or 5 hats at a time. So I think he's one of the only people left that would be. I wouldn't agree with anything he does, but I do think he would be considered a competent person.
I wouldn't disagree with you there. I would not disagree with you. I think he's a little snail. I think he's a little shit. But yeah, he's been
he
very
screams
clear.
Little shit.
Oh yeah, he's very clear that he is the interim. He doesn't want to get fucking nailed down to this position or anything that happens in the White House. But that's gonna happen. So everybody, there was a short, everybody lost their shit there. Now the one I thought was really fucking bullshit was he told, and this is really funny. He told a group, he spoke to the troops while he was in Iraq, and he told them that he had given them a 10% pay raise. Donald Trump told the active serving military he had given them a 10% pay raise, and that in fact it was the first pay raise they had received in 10 years, which automatically says that automatically says that Barack Obama. Yeah, Barack Obama had never given any of the military a pay raise, and that is all complete horseshit. Complete and utter horseshit. The military receives pay raises every year. In 2018, it was a 2.6% pay raise on average. 2017, it was like 2.4. It's just complete shit. Like I have friends in the family that voted for Donald Trump because they have their kids are in the military now, and they're like, well, Donald Trump's gonna give him a better pay raise than Barack Obama ever did. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? It's like, well, Barack Obama didn't give him a pay raise. Like, okay, you're just listening to fucking Sean Hannity. That's not true. Like, this is an issue that has resonated with a very small fraction of his base, but it resonates really strongly, and he is just making it the fuck up.
Isn't
What's
the race
new?
structure in that setup more like any other organization where because you have like, I imagine it's set up like anything else where the structure has performance reviews and evaluations every year, and then there's raises that are given. Like it's not like someone goes to the president every single year and says, "Do we give the troops raises?" I highly doubt that's a thing.
Well, he did block the federal pay increase though.
Yes,
That's true.
General schedule.
I wanted to talk about that because he blocked their pay raise, but they're not getting paid anyway. So I guess what the fuck does that matter?
Touche.
Yeah, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But yeah, no. But John, you're right, and Shay, you are right as well. Like it is a thing that's structured in there, but it has to. If I'm not mistaken, it goes to the president to sign off sign off on it. And like if the president wanted to, since he is the commander in chief, he could make it a 10% pay raise. I've always said if we're gonna be the world's police, one of the little things I like to throw out when I'm really hammered at the bar is like, if you want the best people in the military, then I would say pay them better than we've ever paid them before. So like whatever the fuck inflation is, just double that. Like if inflation's 2%, if inflation's 2.5%, then the military gets a 5% pay raise every year. And they're like, well, how are we gonna pay for that? It's like, well, you didn't give a shit worried about how to pay for any of this other military shit, so why do you give a shit now? Like, just pay them, So. That's my little rant on it.
Well, I almost want to get into the whole like what is like $21 trillion audit finding that they had recently, and there's just the Department of Defense just has money that we don't even know if it exists, where it's at, anything. It's just a clusterfuck.
As far as the defense spending goes, like I'm not a hawk or a dove or any kind of thing. Like, but when people like Sean Hannity, for years, he's I would say parlayed. He's whatever. He's squawked into a microphone about his what he calls the penny plan. You take 1%, 1 penny out of every dollar, take it out of federal funding, everything. And like, first of all, it wouldn't make a dent in any of the budget woes we have. And second of all, whenever you talk to Sean Hannity about this, anybody who gives him any kind of friction always goes, yeah, what about the military? He's like, oh, we don't take any money from the military. It's like, well, that's not what you said, fuckface. When you and your street ninja teacher were talking, you said a penny from every dollar. So, like, whenever Republicans want to, put in austerity measures and, like, slash the federal government by 5%, like, great. We piss away so much money in the federal government that it's insane. Like, John, you were just saying, like, the last audit of the Pentagon, they came out with, like, $21 trillion they couldn't fucking account for. Like, it could literally be sitting in a big fucking vault in the basement of the Pentagon, and we have no clue. Like, if you want to slash 5% from the federal budget, do it across the board.
Well, the thing is that they can't show how they spent money, but then each year they requested more.
Exactly.
So that's concerning. I'm not necessarily saying they don't need it, but if you can't show why you need it, it gets a kind of, I don't know, murky.
Murky? It's complete horseshit.
Yeah.
If you're gonna want more money and say that, $21 trillion went into projects that were top secret and they can't tell you about it, that's fine. But every year you got to trot out one top secret plane and or exosuit that you're developing and fucking show me, and I'm game.
Well, like in my current job, I deal with compliance of federal grants that UK receives for research.
Right.
We receive like $300+ million in funding each year, and we ship bricks basically over whether or not like we might have a small finding which could cost the university, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can't imagine how it's okay for a federal agency, whether it's defense or not, to be like, oh, we don't know where $21 trillion is.
All I'm saying, and I think Shay could get on board with me here, is if you walk out a 7-story mech, I'm gonna look the other way.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. If you, or like when I see videos, I don't know if you've seen videos of those developmental exosuits that let airmen like pick up full bombs by themselves, and they can be dude. If you have a bunch of guys setting those
tags,
dude, yeah. I'm into it. Like, show me something really cool. So it's like, oh, where's all that money going? Oh, that's pretty neat. All right, All
As
right,
long as you give them asset tags and you charge depreciation,
There you go. There you go.
it'll be good.
Somebody once every fiscal year has to go through and they go boop and scan them. That's good.
Right.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can If I had $1 for every time like one of the secretaries or like lab managers have come through either our labs in Argonne or our labs in UK and be like, hey, I'm looking for this thing. I'm like, it's right over there, and they just go boop and they walk out.
Are they just proving it's still there?
Oh well, yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just got to make sure it's still on the premises, like John said. They need to appreciate
And
it.
departments actually get money back on that through their F&A. It gets all into accounting.
Yes, yeah.
I'll leave it to that.
Moral of the story is, show us a working Atlas mech, and we're gold. We're golden, Poland boy. We're fine.
Right.
All right. So Trump visited the troops. He apparently signed a bunch of hats, and people were kind of miffed about that. He said it's totally okay for him to sign a hat, and everybody. But there was this really weird. I don't want to harp on this, but it really made me laugh because on Fox News, they were like, well, Obama signed pictures and things for troops all over the place, and nobody gave a shit. It's like, yeah, but he didn't sign campaign merch, right? Like, he didn't sign, Obama 2020 merch and hand it out to the fucking troops. Like, oh, fuckers.
My understanding too is that that's is it the Hatch Act that I'm trying to think of? That's So, my understanding
under federal funds, yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing I had seen,
I feel like that's as much on the service people though. If they
I was gonna say I had read, and I'm not in the military, and I'm not gonna pretend to know a lot about this beyond the whatever bullshit crosses my screen when I'm scrolling through Reddit or Facebook or whatever you link me. But my understanding is that if you really wanted to press it, because they showed up to what is basically a campaign rally in uniform, that the soldiers themselves are in violation of the Hatch Act. Like if they were in their civvies, or Donald Trump, they had set aside some time to say, yo, here's a meet and greet. You can do whatever you want, but you got to be in your civvies. You can't wear a uniform. It's not an official government function kind of thing. It's fine. But technically what they did was violation of the Hatch Act. Now, obviously, nobody's going to persecute this shit.
Right.
This is just lawyers pontificating on law blogs. But
I certainly don't think it's their fault when, Trump always goes on tirades.
No, exactly. And I refuse to believe
if they're bringing political propaganda basically and having him sign it, then that's a little troubling to me. But I'm sure nothing's gonna come of it.
I mean, I would imagine that proving that the idea, even the definition of the word propaganda though, that's going to be up for debate in that scenario because it's just a fucking hat.
I just use propaganda because I think that's what it is.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a personal...
and to Shay's point, the Hatch Act, excuse me, has been just trampled over by this administration because Kellyanne Conway has been accused of violating it 3 or 4 times. The last time Judge Deneen Pirro, the Fox News squawker, was in the White House, she posed with the president in the Oval Office, him holding up the book, and she shared it on Twitter and was like, hey, the president, and the president shared it on Twitter as well, and was like, hey, buy her book. That's a direct violation of the Hatch Act. Everybody was like, are you and she's a judge, she's a legitimate fucking judge. It's just been trampled on.
I can't even keep track. I'm vaguely familiar with what you're talking about, but it's so hard to keep track of what everybody's upset about these days.
I feel like if your main job is being a spokesperson on Fox, I don't think you're really a judge anymore.
Well, she was one of the people that was in either shouting distance or in line to be Jeff Sessions' replacement. That had been talked about for a while now, that she had wanted to replace Jeff Sessions as the Attorney General whenever he when we got through the midterms and Donald Trump could bounce his Keebler ass out of there.
Right. Well, anybody that's been on Fox News at all is a potential candidate to be part of the Trump
because they say what he likes to hear, and generally they're going to look good on camera, which is another thing that Donald Trump likes to care about. I mean, fuck, our ambassador to the UN right now was a Fox News anchor. She then went to be a spokesperson for the UN on the U.S.'s behalf, and then now she's the ambassador.
Right.
She literally has zero fucking experience in any aspect of that job.
Only the best.
She is fairly good looking, though. I'll give her that.
Yeah.
That's one thing the right is really good at. The right gets hotter talking heads than the left does.
It's true.
That's what the guys on Chapo's Trap House say. It's like it's nothing but TNT, tits and teeth. Like, it's a big fucking gleaming white smile and a push-up bra and a some kind of tight-fitting business suit, and you're good to go. You can just say all kinds of racist bullshit, and you're fucking money. All right. Speaking of racist bullshit, we are in the midst of a government shutdown. I don't know if you guys have heard about this on the news, right? Have you guys followed this at all? Maybe a little bit.
Hasn't affected me one bit.
Has it come up? Well, as we sit here on Sunday night, we are in the 8th day of the Trump shutdown. I call it the Trump shutdown because we had a Senate and House deal, like the 21st or 20th, 21st of this month of December, where we were going to fund the rest of the government.
I think it was more of a Senate deal, really.
Well, they had a Senate deal, and the House they were ready. The House had passed it. The Senate was ready to sign off on it, but Trump said he wasn't going to sign it. That deal would have kicked the can down the road.
Didn't the Senate vote on it like pretty much 100 to 99 to 1 or whatever it was, and then the House, they decided they were not going to vote on it because Trump said no. All right. That's my
That could be how it went down. That could be how it went down.
I don't think the House actually voted on it. They just kind of said, "Oh, we're not going to." Paul Ryan, the man with such conviction, pretty much said, "Yeah, I'm not going to bring that to the floor."
Right. Well, okay. I think you might be correct but they had the deal. The House and the Senate had the deal.
I think it would have passed. I think it would have passed the House.
So Trump said he wouldn't vote for it unless it contained the $5 billion for his border wall. The bill did contain $1.8 billion for border security, which is something that both sides say is totally fucking fine. We just don't want to build this big, massive concrete wall. The reason Trump said he wouldn't vote for it is because Rush Limbaugh, Ann Coulter, and Laura Ingraham had heard that this deal would kick the can down the road till February, I think, for the $5 billion. And so they all said so on the radio shows, and Trump just got a lot of flack, so just blew that deal right out of the water. Next up was and this was just like a day ago, the Trump administration came to Chuck Schumer and offered that they would sign off on the same bill, except if you bumped up the border wall funding to $2.5 billion, and Chuck Schumer told him to kick rocks. And so that's kind of where
as he should.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Trump said this is his shutdown, that he was going to be proud.
No, he said it's the Democrats' fault.
After he sat
here we are again. But this has to be the Democrats' fault because I distinctly remember Donald Trump saying on multiple occasions that the president's responsible for shutdowns and should be fired when they happen. So if the shutdown are his fault, he wouldn't be the president anymore. He wouldn't just say something like that.
I've said this before, but also, keep in mind that government shutdowns, they go in line with the rhetoric of what the Republicans want to begin with, which is less government. What better way just to shut the government down?
Well, until okay, that's a great point, John. Except the other problem is that right now we have about 800,000 federal workers that aren't going to get paid. Didn't get paid this past Friday.
Well, Trump said they're mostly Democrats anyway.
Yeah. There has been he has been tweeting up a storm because one of the major problems with this government shutdown that went into effect last Friday at midnight was that Donald Trump had to stay his white ass in the White House and not go to Mar-a-Lago for Christmas like he wanted to. He was getting ready to go on a 16-day vacation. And we can do an entire podcast about how this president has gone on vacation every 4 fucking days. Compared, I think the number right now is over $100 million that Donald Trump has spent on vacations and travel since he's been president. And we're not 2 years into it. We're still January 20th.
Do you think somebody tricked him and told him there was a golf course in Iraq?
That wouldn't surprise me. I bet you money he had clubs on Air Force One.
Just in case.
I'm sure he probably has 4 or 5 sets just sitting in cargo.
Right, But we could do an entire fucking podcast on the fact that Donald Trump has spent more money traveling in 2 years than Barack Obama has done. And this is an estimate by like Turning Point USA or the Heritage Foundation say that Barack Obama spent $105 million on vacations in 8 years.
Oh,
we're just
people shit a brick though when he went to Hawaii that one time.
Yeah, like people were just,
one time.
And it was fucking hilarious. But Donald Trump was planning a 16-day trip to Mar-a-Lago that he had to cancel because of the shutdown.
He has like an obligation to like all these people who are members that like.
No, that's New Year's. That's the other thing. Now that the shutdown is clearly going to go through the first of the year and probably into next week. He's got this Sophie's choice of whether he goes back to Mar-a-Lago to be the guest of honor, the sitting POTUS at Mar-a-Lago with all these people who paid like like John said, like $1,200, $1,250, whatever the fuck it was, to meet and greet with the president. So like you go to this party, and you're just going to be made a laughing stock in the press, which is it's like Tuesday for him. Or you go and meet and greet with these high rollers that expected you to be at your New Year's Eve party at your private club that's for profit that we're apparently funding out of our taxpayer.
Well, all those service people who have to protect his ass, they have to rent rooms and all that. And
right. Well, and like I was just going to say, like right now we got 800,000 federal employees that aren't going to get paid, and some of those people have to work. Like the best example is TSA. TSA agents are not getting paid, but they're not getting furloughed because you got to have people fucking there checking groins and butt cracks for explosives. So Donald Trump is having the Sophie's choice about whether or not he's going to go to his own New Year's Eve party, and you got people working.
He's already said that most of them are Democrats, and so
yeah. That's hilarious. Like I shared that on Facebook, and my comment was, I have no fucking clue how to fact check this, and I'm sure the president didn't either.
If they weren't Democrats before, then I'm sure they're
that's a good point.
Now.
Yeah. So let's not gloss over the fact that back in February we had a deal with this whole okay. Let's take 2 steps back and let's talk about this in a little bit more detail here. So the reason that Donald Trump is holding this bullshit up is for his border wall. This is the promise he made to his base in 2015 and 16. He was going to build a big beautiful wall. I believe the first quote he said this was in 2015. He's going to build a big beautiful wall, and Mexico's going to pay for it. Well, excuse me. It went from Mexico's going to pay for it to we're paying for it to the tune of $25 billion. Then it kept going down from $15 to $10 billion. Now we're at $5 billion. Now we're at $2.5 billion. And there was a report just the other day. Where am I in my little outline here? Fuck me. Oh, yeah. Chief of Staff John Kelly says that the idea of an actual physical wall was thrown out at the beginning of the year because it was just impractical. They knew it was going to work out. But it was
your best friend Lindsey Graham called it a metaphor.
Yeah. Well, metaphorically, you're not getting that money, asshole. And this is just a pissing match. And the Republican Party doesn't want to give up anything because, like I was saying, back in February we had a deal for the Democrats are going to give $25 billion for this fucking wall if they got protections for DACA recipients. So if you're going to protect all DACA recipients and make sure they weren't deported for any reason under the program started by Barack Obama, the Democrats were going to give him his goddamn $25 billion for a stupid fucking wall, and he blew that deal up. He said no. So I don't understand what the fuck we're doing here, and why we're acting like Donald Trump isn't the one that is tripped over his own dick and fallen into a weed wagon.
I'm pretty sure he didn't trip over his own dick. From what I read from Stormy Daniels.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just not going anywhere.
I'm gonna grab a beer. I'll be right back.
Alrighty.
There's John's mistake. I always have a cooler right here that's got ice and beers in it and whiskey. So, that he just needs to do better. Yeah. Hey, I have an Ozark Trail cooler. Yeah, this is, again, ladies and gentlemen, it's an audio medium, but he's just holding up the same cooler I've got.
Yeah.
No, I just, the mental gymnastics I've been watching my conservative friends that I still follow on Facebook, because sometimes I just have to unfollow. people because I can't stand the stupid shit spewing at me all the time. But the mental gymnastics for this are just hysterical. Like, all of this has happened while, in theory, the Republicans still have the House and the Senate. Like,
Right.
Don't come to me and say, like, well, the Democrats kept him from passing a funding bill, so the government shut down. No, not really. You changed the rules so that they only need 51 votes. Mitch McConnell's the tiebreaker. Like, there's no excuse to not pass it other than the fact that these guys they can't get their shit together because they can't fucking govern. They spent the last 10-ish years playing the victim, and now they don't know how to govern anymore. All they know how to do is the woe is me.
Well, you've got people saying, just like you were saying, Jay, like, the mental gymnastics are hilarious because you got people going, like, just the other day there was articles like bashing Nancy Pelosi for going, she and her family went on vacation to Hawaii, and they're like, if she really cared about the United States, she'd be here ready to broker a deal. And like, people pointed out, like, as soon as like that story was thrown out there and Donald Trump started saying it, it's like, why is Nancy Pelosi not here in Washington with me trying to make a deal? And they're like, you know what, fuckers, she's not Speaker of the House yet. Democrats haven't taken control of the House until January 3rd, and B, she hasn't technically been voted Speaker of the House yet. You should talk to Paul Ryan, who's probably sitting with his kids, like, doing a second round of,
those last
T90X.
Those last 2 days of this past session or whatever, like, the Republicans are the ones that had, like, I don't know, several handfuls of representatives who were just, like, out of town. They were totally AWOL.
Yeah, this is not a Democratic. This is not something that Nancy Pelosi can legitimately pull the trigger on because she can't reconvene the House. That's Paul Ryan's.
Right.
That's his job. I mean, it's not like he's done anything since he's been fucking Speaker of the House. God, we could do an entire podcast on how shitty and hypocritical Paul Ryan is.
That fucking guy, man.
Good
That's thank God, because he's out of there.
I love all of the times he talked about how our national debt was such a huge problem, and stared into the camera with his sad puppy dog blue eyes, and then he retires, and then he wanted to. First of all, then he would want to raise the retirement age to like 70 years old. Be like, this is the only way we're going to pay for anything. And then motherfucker retires to 49 with a full pension from the United States House of Representatives. Acting like, and when he took the goddamn job, he said, I'm not going to work on weekends. Like, I'm going to vote down.
Oh, my God,
He pretty much said he didn't want to be House Speaker when he took the job.
He said, I don't want to do it, and if I'm going to do it, I'm not going to work weekends. So I'm going to vote down, paid leave for women and any type of women and men for maternity leave, because those fuckers don't need to spend time with their family. But you are not taking a Saturday away from me to put on my dad shorts and my white tennis shoes and blow my leaves in my neighbor's yard.
Oh, he's
I bet he wears some of those Nike trainers.
Yeah, it's totally
white with the green grass stains.
He's the kind of neighbor that takes, that puts his garbage in his neighbor's cans that are already on the roads because he doesn't want to bring his cans down there. Yeah, that's him. Fucking Paul Ryan.
Well, and the funny thing is he's going to dip out here. He's going to take 2 or 3 years and just lay low while Donald Trump probably goes to jail, maybe. And then he's going to pop out and be like, hey, guys, remember how awesome of a Speaker of the House I was? And then 2/3 of the Republican Party is like, yeah, that's right. You didn't molest a kid, so you're aces in our book.
God, it's going to see him run for president in a few years. That'd be horrible. Ugh.
I don't see it.
I could see him doing that thing that guys like him do that after well, what I'll tell you this is if I see Paul Ryan start talking about running for president, not in this election cycle, but the next one, that means he's got a book coming out.
I think he's pretty much proven already that he's too spineless. Yeah. I mean, honestly, he made Boehner look like, an upstanding individual, so.
Man, I love how John Boehner every now and then he'll just pop up in the news, just be like, "That shit is messed up."
He's just glad he's not dealing with that shit.
And the whole attitude he's got is just like, "Holy shit, I'm glad I'm not there anymore." I can't remember what it was, but there was a quote of his a few months ago that just was kind of making the rounds, and someone had just asked him what he thought of this administration. It was basically him just kind of chuckling, going, "Yeah, it's something else, isn't it?" Get in his car and drive away. Hell yeah, not my problem.
Oh, don't forget that old Boehner there was like, And I would like to take this chance to say that his name is pronounced Boner. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
it's
he
spelled.
cried a lot. Let's remember that, please.
Huh?
And he cried a lot.
Oh, he always cried a lot, and that's fine. Men can show emotion, but when he really flip flopped, he's like, "Hey, listen, I'm going to vote against all of these marijuana bills, legalization, and the second I got here, I'm going to fucking lobby for marijuana. I'm going to get in this think tank that's going to make sure all these states legalize it." And I think, if I'm not mistaken, listening to some like Sean Hannity and some Limbaugh, like Boehner is part of a like an investment group that if you pay them, like it's kind of like those like house flipper things you hear on the radio. It's like, hey, we're coming to your area. We're going to teach you our method of flipping houses so that you can make money in the Chicago area. Blah 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 blah.
Consultant.
Right, right. But he does the same thing. It was like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to invest in the marijuana industry. Like that's what Boehner's doing now.
Yeah, dude. Him and Roger Stone are real big into that, which always blows my mind. Like Roger Stone has a collection of bongs that are shaped like Nixon heads, which oh god,
he's gonna go to jail here pretty soon.
Hopefully that'd be great. Dude, John Boehner, I hadn't thought about him in a while.
He likes it that way.
Yeah, he was a piece of shit, but at least he's got a sense of humor about the whole thing. Because every time I see a video of him or a quote, he's just kind of like, "Not my problem."
Well, one of the things about John Boehner that was different than Paul Ryan is that John Boehner had what did they call it? John, you might know. Is it the McClatchy rule? I'm probably making that up. It was an informal rule where that they would only put forth legislation they could pass with their own members, so they didn't have to compromise with the Democrats at all.
Right.
Yeah,
something like that.
I'm missing the name of it. You know, Shay might be able to Google it for us while we're talking, but basically, when Nancy Pelosi was working with John Boehner, like he knew that if he didn't have the votes, he just wouldn't put it up, and she would go to him and be like, "Listen, I'm going to put this up," and like, you know, if she was Speaker of the House, she'd be like, "You can either help me, you know, or I'm going to talk to, you know, these other guys and get their votes. Like, I'll just take you out of the loop." She couldn't do that with Paul Ryan because he was so spineless. They just didn't put anything up. Like, I mean, they passed like nothing in his time. But yeah, I want to say it was like, it wouldn't be that guy that was a pedophile, would it? Wasn't it his rule?
No, I know I know what you're talking about, but I can't find the name of the rule. It'll come to me after we're done recording, I'm sure.
That's not a big deal. So the other fun thing that on top of this whole border thing, like something we should just mention is that border security is at its highest level it's ever fucking been, because it's always more the year to year. It's kind of like how you know, home sales. Every year, more people have bought homes because we have more fucking people in the United States. Every administration adds the border security. There hasn't been an administration, Democrat or Republican, that has torn down walls or fences. Like, we just always add to it, right? So this isn't a pressing matter. We could go into the whole fact that these people that come to the border are legally seeking asylum, but that's just, I mean, fuck me and fuck the facts, right?
That's what gets on my nerves, is because like I keep seeing all these people post things on Facebook, people that are really, part of me doesn't want to be Facebook friends with them at all, and if there wasn't some kind of relative relation of some sort, I probably wouldn't be. I think but they basically post that every person who wants
Facebook page a lot.
They're basically saying that any person who wants to come to the U.S. that they're automatically an illegal alien, which you can get in the whole we shouldn't be calling people aliens. Well, whatever. Anyway, they're saying these people are illegal, but really, if you come over into like a port of entry and claim asylum, that's actually a form of legal potential immigration. I don't know if you would call it immigration until they're, get a decision on whether or not they're going to be allowed to come into the country permanently or not. But there's nothing illegal about that.
No. And
that's actually the legal way of doing asylum.
Right. If you come to the port of entry, declare yourself seeking asylum. You have to declare why you're seeking asylum, and then you're processed through the legal process like anybody else.
So the caravan, for instance, for the most part, outside of like some of the issues that were going on there with like, I don't know, tear gas and apparently some people trying to overrun certain areas. I don't know the whole details, but like the whole idea of the caravan is they were coming through a port of entry, which was an illegal form of potential immigration. I mean,
Right. No. And even if they were all to hop the fence, like let's say they all like swung 10 miles left and like hopped the fence down there, and then as soon as they were greeted, they were greeted or met, however you want to phrase it, by Border Patrol agents, and they declared that they were there to seek asylum. That's also 100% legal by a treaty we signed back in 1955.
right.
Like, none of this shit is illegal. It's just very, like, we want to keep the brown people from the South out. And that's what Trump's base wants to talk about. I mean, let's just gloss over the fact that the vast majority of illegal immigrants we have in the United States right now, something like 66% of them, are just visa overstays from people from Canada and Europe. Now,
Right.
I've always said we needed to build a wall, and actually they might build it for us to keep the Canucks out. But, I mean, it's oh, goddamn, the facts just don't sit up on Donald Trump's side at all. But he just keeps tweeting out.
And it's all on this economics of like it's bad for the economy for having any of these people come over. Pretty much everything is shown that, you know, the more immigration we have, whether it's from our south or from other areas of the world, that it's gonna help our economy. So who gives a shit? Is all I can say. Because they're either going to be high skilled, which is always good, or it's going to be low skilled shit that our Americans right now don't want to do anyway. So it's a win-win.
And right now, like as of the time, today as we're recording this, Donald Trump for the last 2 or 3 days has threatened to close down the border totally. So this, he's going to shut down the border totally. Which, okay, so
when he says the border, is he just talking about the southern border?
It clearly just means the southern border. So he's going to shut down the southern border entirely. So first of all, so you can shut down a border you said you needed a wall to protect from. Okay, whatever. If you shut down the border entirely, which means no imports or exports, that's literally like several $100 million a day.
Right.
You want to see the stock market do something really fucking crazy? Do that. Shut down all trade with Mexico for a couple days. Like all. Period.
There's a lot of stuff that on a daily basis, and really a lot of those towns that are on the border, there's people who cross on a daily basis who rely on that for their just daily lives of going back and forth.
Yeah.
On both sides, really.
Right.
Man, I wonder if he actually did shut the border down. Let's just say for a week or whatever, and the damage that would do. I wonder how. I mean, a lot of that guy's base isn't going to be affected by it being right near the border, but like a lot of the people in the GOP have a lot of businesses, I'm sure, that would be personally hurt by that. I would be really interesting to see the reaction on that. I honestly don't think he'd do it. I think that's just one of those dumb things he just throws out there to stir chaos and keep people on their toes. But like, I would love to see the reaction of that, because there is no good possible outcome from that from a financial standpoint for anybody.
So much stuff comes from Mexico at this point that I mean, more power to him, I guess. I don't know.
That would be hysterical to watch the fallout from that.
Well, and like Shay was saying, like there would be like right now there is an exodus of like what we would call the Never Trumpers. Like there's only 12 Never Trumpers that really get on the air anywhere because they've like cornered that market. Steve Schmidt, there's a couple other ones, that said at the outset, like Donald Trump will be a bad candidate, be a bad president, like he's a bad person, fuck him, fuck all this shit. Like if you're voting for him, you're an idiot. And
most of them are like he's a bad person, but we're gonna own him.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like there is a quiet majority that, like in these op-eds and things like that, are talking about how horrible he is for the party and the country and all those things. So, like, but they're not going to go out and say like, fuck this guy, fuck him, because they got, like Shay said, they got business that they've got to run. Businesses and
business.
Yeah, I've had like 8 beers at this point, so just, I'm gonna just roll my businesses. But yeah, like Shay said, like there's a quiet majority that's like, there's like, holy shit, what is this guy doing? Like, I can't come out and like tell everybody he's fucking up my world right now because I need this Republican base to buy my shit and go to my establishments after this. There's so much like soft pedaling right now, but they're quietly already trying to distance themselves from him. If he would do something like this and just tank the economy, I mean, there are estimates that this shutdown will cost $1 billion to the U.S. economy, like off the top. If he shut down the southern border like he says he's going to do, that would just exponentially fuck it up. So I think Shay's right. I think he's just bluster, but because I don't think he knows what this shit would do. Like, I know Donald Trump shut down the government not knowing that it's going to average $500 million a day or whatever it is.
No, and I mean, the people the people he's speaking towards now, that like 35% of people who are going to vote for him no matter what he does, that they love it. They fucking love it. And that base isn't getting any bigger, and there are some arguments that it's shrinking. So I bet you'll see more and more of this kind of shit, because those people that he needs to keep fired up love that shit, and they're not, that's fucking.
Those are the people who they'll post memes on Facebook saying they don't want to pay like X amount of dollars for some illegal to whatever have health care or whatever.
Right.
But man, they'll pay the same amount of money just to like blow it for no absolute reason at all.
They're donating to a wall. Like, holy shit. Like, where the hell that GoFundMe is going to go is just...
Oh, that is the best. Did you see the counter GoFundMe that was ladders to get over the wall?
That's fantastic.
Like, that's amazing. So then the real question is like, the people at GoFundMe are like, oh, God damn it, what are we going to do with this? Because they have, like, legal obligations.
Right.
I know a lot of those joke GoFundMes end up getting everybody just gets their shit refunded.
Exactly, yeah.
But that's potentially a lot of ladders. I'm just going to say.
It's a lot.
Well, and let's also just not gloss over the fact that these Mongoloids that have donated to this GoFundMe don't realize that if they just hand this money to the government, there is no legal recourse to make the government use it on the wall. Like Donald
these
Trump
are people
will
who don't like to pay taxes.
Yeah, like exactly. Like these are like, oh, God damn it! Like, you just hand the federal government. Let's just say they get it up to $25 million. You hand the government. First of all, everybody's posting when they hit $10 million. They're like, we're halfway to our goal, or what? No, what it was $5 million. They hit $5 million. $5 million.
They're probably giving more than what they got back from their tax cut.
Oh, I'm sure they are. They when it hit $5 million, like, people all over Twitter was like, we're halfway there, everybody, and like everybody who has a math degree or can do any kind of math was like, actually, $5 million is only 0.001% of $1 billion. You're off by several orders of magnitude there. But if you handed $25 million to the federal government, there's nothing to say that they have to spend it on a wall. Like, Donald Trump is literally going to, like, buy underwear and
more gold toilets for the White House, bro.
Right. No, he's going to, like, refit one of the... I know Air Force One costs like $1 billion.
The federal government is going to spend $25 million trying to figure out how to deposit and spend $25 million.
Oh, of course. We're going to churn through that in an hour. But what the fuck ever. All right, before we let this go and we talk about the woo fuckery of this week, I would like to talk about, and Shay brought this up, we've talked about this in our little Facespaces and Mybooks messages, but one of the fun things that have come out this week is that in light of this border wall, funding issue, government shutdown to protect us all from the southern brown people, the FBI is investigating the Trump National Golf Club for procuring fake green cards for its workers. I would say that's ironic, but irony is dead.
Yeah, and like we have been talking about this earlier, and I get it. It was Donald Trump probably had nothing to do with whoever made, it wasn't like he rolled in there and like handed out illegal fake green cards. It was one of the fucking thousands of people that works for him. But it's just another classic example of like generally anything he bitches about, he is probably involved in some way in doing himself. Like he talks about corruption and wanting to drain the swamp, and then makes the most corrupt administration this country has ever seen.
But Michael Cohen said that there's not a single decision that's made in the Trump organization without Donald Trump himself knowing about it.
Right.
I would believe that. I would say it probably went down one of two ways. Donald Trump went, I need people to do these jobs, get it done. I don't care how you get it done. And then he didn't really, and the guy's like, well, I'm going to have to do this. And he goes, yeah, whatever.
Are you saying Donald
get
Trump
it done.
doesn't care about the details?
I would be shocked if he did. Yes. Whatever the processes are that attach that thing he calls a wig to his head, I'm sure there's a lot of details there, and he uses up all of his memory in the morning attaching that. Yeah.
It's hairspray. It's sculpting.
Yeah, there's a welder involved. It's a whole big thing. I imagine it looks like the thing where Vader has his helmet put on.
Oh yeah. It has to go in that big the big sphere.
The big eggshell sphere thing. Yeah. Except it's like a giant like Big Mac container.
Yeah.
It's all made of styrofoam. But I mean, it's just classic. Of fucking course, that's what he does. Of course, someone whose entire family has spent decades running scams to make money is hiring illegal immigrants. Like, I don't think nobody is surprised by that. It's just fucking hysterical to see it buried in the midst of this whole discussion of immigration, which, by the way, I always feel this needs to be thrown out there. And this is illegal immigration is at its lowest in 40 years, I think. It's at an all-time low.
Yeah.
Like, people don't seem to realize that. So, all of this is over a problem that's slowly, diminishing. But yeah, no, of course Donald Trump has illegal immigrants working for him. Like, and anyone who is surprised by that is a fucking idiot.
Like, one of them was fucking interviewed by the Washington Post, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. She's like, oh yeah. She's like, I'm illegal. I can't remember the context of it. I guess she was just basically seeing all the stuff in the media about what he was saying on immigrants and immigration. She's like, well, this is fucking bullshit because I work for you and I'm an illegal and I got my fake green card from my boss. So what? Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to mean anything in the long run, but it's a funny blip on the radar to talk about.
But this goes further to something that, Shay, you've said several times, is that when you decide you're going to run for president and then maybe, even in the long shot, win the presidency, your entire life, no matter what it is, it's going to be under the microscope. So you can't have, Mitt Romney said, and as tone deaf as it was, like, he was caught having, like, I want to say there were illegal immigrants working like as landscapers for Mitt Romney on his property, and he was like, and his comment was, listen guys, I can't have illegals on my property, I'm running for president.
Yeah.
Not that it's illegal or maybe there's a better way to get you into the country and get you a good working job. No, it makes me look bad. Yeah, it makes me look bad. So like he classically tone deafly said that again. This is the guy that said, I like Michigan because all the trees are the right height or whatever the fuck he said. But he so like, yeah, there's no big fucking shock that this happened, but it's just like Shay said, like, when you run for president, expect everybody to look into your shit, and then don't be so like just God stopped. It's like everybody's like, holy hell, like, you're gonna look into my finances because I'm the president, you bastards.
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah. I mean, there are jobs where they look into your finances if you just want to work for a private company, because banks won't hire you if you have lots of debt sometimes, because that means you'd be more prone to do shady shit to cover your debt,
Right.
In certain positions.
You pretty much have to get a background check where they do your credit just about for most any job these days.
Hell, you can't, in Colorado, you're not legally allowed. I don't know the detail, but even in the marijuana industry, unless it's been changed, the last I looked into it, if you have a certain dollar number of debt or higher, you just can't work for them, because because of the potential to say like, hey man, I could probably sell some of this on the side and pay off my debts. There's all kinds of criminal background stuff that will bar you from normal everyday fucking slave wage jobs. So I can't imagine why anyone wouldn't expect the president to have every single bit of his life gone over with a microscope once he's elected. Like, if anything, people are just going to dig into it because you can make money off of a scandal from the president. So you're going to have every freelance journalist out there trying to find out anything they can. And I mean, frankly, they should, because apparently all the juicy stuff they're finding is kind of illegal right now. So that's kind of neat to know. But yeah. Well, if they drained the swamp and they bottom, they found a whole bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, and it had to do with Donald Trump paying off some ladies of ill rapport.
So fucking funny.
All right, let's wrap this up with our This Week in Woo Fuckery. Has anybody got anything? I got one I think is really funny.
Go for it.
John, you got something in the holster? You ready?
I got some. I don't know how it even falls at this point because I don't know the details. But did you see that the fact that there's a nude selfie that's been obtained in the Mueller investigation?
I had read that, and I was almost surprised that that's all they came up with. Because if you can consider who Mueller is investigating at this point, I can't believe that he has not come over a stash of fucking,
well, somehow all these people
weird porn, and he's like, "God damn it, we've got 60 gigs of porn on this guy's computer. We're gonna look through." I can't believe it's just a nude selfie. That's what I'm saying.
Uncovered all this like child porn in a pizza shop in D.C. supposedly, and all this and that. So
in a basement that didn't exist.
Right, but yeah, but this actually seems like it's been obtained in legal. I don't know, proceedings.
And the only reason I think it really matters is because we have this Maria Butina who apparently came to the United States to kind of bang her way into the Republican good graces to set up a back channel between her and Russia, or between the GOP and Russia, which nobody was surprised they tried to do, but everybody was kind of surprised how well it worked out. So I'm almost positive that naked selfie is of her, but that's just my guess.
I don't know. Part of me wants to think it's linked to the P-tape.
That would be fantastic, but God doesn't love me that much. My This Week in Woo Fuckery is that apparently this week on Sesame Street, Grover dropped the F-bomb. And this is apparently an internet debate of whether or not he said that or fuck. And listen, guys, it's 2018. Donald Trump is the sitting president of the United States. Grover dropped the F-bomb. That's my stance.
Absolutely.
I don't think he did. However, if you listen to it just right and expect to hear the F word, you can get it.
Oh, congratulations, John. This is the last time you'll ever be on the podcast. Thank you.
Yeah.
Grover dropped the F-bomb, ladies and gentlemen. Fucking deal with it.
Yeah. I firmly believe I had read about that, and I firmly was like that's one of those things that you have to you write it you write it a certain way so that anybody can hear what they want, and then you just sit back and let people have fun with it.
And also, you have to remember that when I first heard about it, I thought, well, that's dumb. It's a recorded thing, it's a pre-recorded thing. But then I remembered that there's a person down there saying the lines. It's not. I was like, so if you let me be Grover for the day, I guarantee you I'm going to drop a word that they don't want to hear.
Man, have you ever given thought to and there's a few of these things hanging around, you can find if you dig them into YouTube, deep enough into YouTube about Jim Henson, especially the classic Muppet productions. There has got to be some hilarious shit where these dudes in the 70s and 80s were supposed to be off camera, and they're just freeballing it with the dialogue, and the Muppets are talking dirty, and it's got to be really good.
And they're just hired in balls.
Yeah, I always love to think about how much fun it would have been to be on the production set of that stuff.
What was the puppet movie that came out recently that was obviously the R-rated?
Yeah, I can't remember. It had
I saw the trailer and I was like, I totally have to see that, and I obviously didn't. But
it's the Storytime Murders or something like that.
I think one of the Hensons actually was involved. he'd sold the franchise or what have you, and there's somebody that was actually involved previously with the Muppets who, I don't know, helped with that.
Yeah, I mean, it was yeah, and then they got the Jim Henson's company sued, and then they lost the lawsuit, so they were still allowed to say it was like Jim Henson's whatever. But I don't know if the actual Jim Henson production company had anything to do with it. It was just
I doubt it.
It's one of those things where you'll see like James Cameron presents or produced or whatever. James Cameron had nothing to do with the movie, but people like James Cameron and who the guy that did Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson, will throw their name on shit. Like World Engines is a great example. Doesn't mean anything, but
Mortal Engines.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. Get it right, because they're going to lose their asses.
But I remember there was a lot of splooge involved.
I haven't seen
Splooge?
it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. Muppet Splooge?
Yeah.
Well, that brings us back to Team America World Police, which is just fucked up.
Oh, that's such a great one. Yeah, it's I haven't seen that in years, but I was watching clips from it the other day.
The motherfucking day,
And
I just want to tell you guys that when they let the Panthers out and it was 2 black kittens, I basically had to blow in Rachel's mouth to get her to breathe again.
Yeah. Did she almost lose it?
Oh, she lost.
Yeah, I really wish they'd do another one of those, but Trey Parker and Matt Stone swore it was like it's the most difficult thing we've ever done. We'll never make another movie like that again. Yeah.
And marionettes, it's stupid. They've already said that their simplistic South Park cartoon is like building a sandcastle with a bulldozer, because the software they use is what they use in all of the modern cartoons and The Simpsons, and they're like, we are making the simplest fucking thing with the most complicated fucking software in the world. It's insane. But all right, so I think that's where we need to put a pin in, gentlemen.
Oh
John,
man,
thanks for sitting in.
Anytime.
Next time you see Gallon, tell him he is a punk.
I should see him tomorrow. So.
All right. Well, tell him he's a punk.
Will do.
Shay, as always, thanks for coming on. If you would like to get a hold of us, we should be on everywhere you have your podcasts. I actually Google it, and I'm pleasantly surprised where we pop up. It's pretty funny. If you have any questions, comments, or would like to talk about how handsome Shay and I are in general, you can hit us up on Twitter at WoodsCastThe. Facebook, it's at WoodsCast1776, and shoot us an email at thewoodscast1776 at gmail.com. We will forever tell you to fuck Alex Jones and all of his shtick. We're going to use 1776 when he has been sued into oblivion. So fuck a bunch of him. John, thanks again. Shay,
Yeah.
say goodnight to the nice people.
Toodles.
Good night, y'all.
Never heard a sound. Oh, he's my man, and he likes to jam. The thing starts to jam, moving up and down across the land. Got a wiggle all in his waist. Everything about him seems out of place, but move, just a rubber band man, just a move, just a rubber band.